The man never expected that the innocent, naive sweetheart of the teen would transform into a holy, flawless angel in a moment of crisis. Moreover, with just a prayer in her heart, even the most fatal wounds can be healed instantly. Such logic-defying healing is something even the protagonist, the so-called absolute god, couldn't pull off. As for how things got so ridiculous, it all started when they first encountered the woman with the severed arm. Saying she was gravely injured, Jiangsu immediately brought her back to camp for treatment. Shenhua, ever the sweetheart, even prepared dinner for her. But instead of showing gratitude, Linya instinctively reached for the weapon at her waist. Fortunately, Lizzie had already confiscated it. Seeing this, the protagonist heightened his guard. Earlier, while fetching water, Lizzie had already peeked at her system panel. The remark column actually read, "Never forgive beautiful women." This meant Shenhua was now her target. Soon Linya asked Shenhua to take her to the river. Jiangsu tried to volunteer, but the mention of taking a bath immediately shut him down. That's when Lizzie stepped in, offering to help. However, due to system constraints, she's incapable of lying, which meant she couldn't hide her expression or murderous intent, thoroughly terrifying Linya. In the end, Shenhua took the lead anyway. Once the two of them left, Lizzie shot the protagonist a look, silently telling him to follow them. But Jiangsu insisted he stay, and he'd left with no choice. The protagonist relied on his 1 trillion agility value to start a repeated side hop mode, allowing him to move between 2 points at high speed. But jumping back and forth like that wasn't exactly a permanent solution, so the protagonist used a hypnosis spell to put Jiangsu into a brief slumber. Meanwhile, upon reaching the riverbank, Linya dropped the act, drawing her dagger and pointing it straight at Shenhua. Turned out, she was also an isekai traveler just like the others. But her ability wasn't a cheat power, it was a curse. Because her boyfriend had cheated on her with a prettier woman back in her old world. Filled with spite, she wrote "Never forgive beautiful women" in her remark column. Consequently, in this new world, whenever she encounters a woman with stunning looks, an uncontrollable urge to kill surges within her. Despite knowing Shenhua was kind, she couldn't resist the prompt in her remark column. Shenhua was simply out of luck. But at the final second, fortunately Liz, who had been lying in wait up in a tree, intervened just in time, precisely knocking the weapon out of Linya's hand. The protagonist stopped holding back since the enemy had lost all reason. He had no intention of showing any mercy, but just as he was about to bring down his blade, a blinding light suddenly erupted from Shenhua. It turns out that besides becoming beautiful, Shenhua had another wish in her remark column. If a friend were to be hurt deep within their heart, she wished to become an angel and heal them, helping them regain what they had lost. In the very next second, a miracle occurred. Her severed arm began to rapidly regenerate within the glow. Instead of being grateful, Linya spat out insults, calling Shenhua an ugly hag. Yet it was this very insult that led our hero to discover a system exploit. As long as she perceived Shenhua as ugly, her sanity would briefly return. Linya then fled into the depths of the forest without a backward glance. Determined not to harm any more innocents, she made a desperate decision to blind herself. But how could our protagonist just stand by and let that happen? After all, self-harm is hardly the optimal solution, and it would surely break Shenhua's heart to find out. He might as well try his dark attribute skill, 5-finger underworld seal. It can seal one's vision without causing any physical damage to the eyes. But the condition is that she must live on with strength from now on. Although she was curious about the protagonist's true identity, Linya eventually agreed to the deal. Back at the camp, our hero gave Shenhua a lecture. Not only is she a beauty, but she also possesses healing powers that everyone covets. Being too kind and naive makes her an easy target for others. So he wants her to learn how to distinguish who is truly trustworthy. If she ever finds herself in danger despite being careful, she should call out his name as loud as she can. No matter where she is, he will be there for her in an instant. These heartwarming words deeply moved Shenhua, so she wanted to shake his hand to show her gratitude. Upon seeing this, the protagonist immediately looked troubled, because any physical contact with a woman reduces his HP by 10. How could he bear to reject such sincere kindness?
Doo-doo. Muffled background chatter. The next day, Shenhua couldn't help but shed tears of emotion after reading Linya's message.
Jiangsu was baffled and asked why, only to be told it was a secret between girls. The group then continued their journey toward the town, only to find the path ahead swarming with a massive horde of monsters. Just as they were about to charge Sanye used a loose shoelace as an excuse to tell them to go ahead. But wait, since when did his shoes even have laces? He's just trying to buy some time for his transformation. The protagonist had no idea why he was being so secretive, so he cast a wind wall to stall for time. Considering his clothes would burst upon transformation, Jiangsu decided to take them off first. But what's the point of folding each piece so neatly? Saying this, the Messi was completely at a loss for words, so he had to handle things himself while helping Shenhua level up along the way.
May you look cool. When he looked back, Jiangsu was still in the middle of his transformation.
The Messi remembers that the trigger condition is anger. Nothing bad is actually happening right now.
Yeah! He's... Ah! Damn it! Damn it! Ah!
I thought Cheng Sai would rush over immediately. But to my surprise, he's actually running here on foot. I really don't see the point of those wings. Shenhua is the only one who doesn't recognize Cheng Si after his transformation, so he pretends to be a passing hero, makes short work of the nearby mobs in no time. However, his coolness lasted barely 2 seconds. Things got awkward the moment he faced the larger monster.
Who's there? Let's cut them down, After all that fuss, it turns out he just forgot he could fly.
However, after summoning the Holy Sword, he wiped out the entire monster army by himself. In just a few moments afterward, Shenhua suddenly realized she hadn't seen Cheng Si anywhere during the fight. Faced with his, Cheng Si had to make up an excuse, claiming he was knocked out by a monster, and that his injuries were too minor to need healing. But the Nessie saw right through his act, knowing his fingers were broken during the first clash with the golem. To save Cheng Si from embarrassment, the Lungsi decided to heal him secretly later. So that there's so much on my mind. What? And that's the recap for episodes 4 and 5 of Fat Otaku Hero. Now let's dive into some extra details and settings. Why didn't Linya just choose to cover her eyes? Some of you might be wondering about this. While the original work doesn't explicitly state it, judging by Linya's reaction, as long as she can still see, there's always a risk of losing control. Only by completely losing her sight can she truly avoid hurting others again. However, this seal isn't permanent. It can be dispelled by light attribute skills. Next is the setting where the MC loses HP whenever he touches a woman. Initially, he chose to wear gloves to avoid unnecessary system penalties, but by the time he returned to Shenhua, the gloves were gone. Judging from this shot of him holding a wet towel, it's safe to assume he took them off while cleaning her up, most likely for the sake of taking better care of Shenhua. Because after Linya fled, Shenhua had fallen into a brief coma. Overall, this show is a great watch if you're looking for a comedy. Cheng Si's Chunibyu antics go without saying, and the Mi's accidental but sharp roasts are spot on. With all the meme-worthy expressions, the upcoming plot is definitely something to look forward to.